Hello there, Demon Phil, Comics and More, New Jersey, and I'm bringing you yet another interview. Yes, I do sleep at times. It is a rumor about that. You'll have to figure that out on your own. But I do come in here and I do a lot of interviews, and there are times whenever I do a lot of them that are extremely fun. They're very, off the wall. We had one of them last night. I mean, it was just a blast doing so and everything. And there are times whenever we need to go ahead and bring up and really put focus on what is going on in the world in situations. Now, I am not talking about what's going on in current situations because we all know I don't speak about that. So what I would like to do first and foremost is go ahead and thank our sponsors for the show, since we do have official sponsors now. So first off, I want to thank Totally Rad Comics for being a sponsor on the show. And if you don't know Totally Rad Comics, then you haven't been paying that much attention. So we will definitely be making you a lot more aware of what they do throughout coming shows. Just keep in mind with that. We'd like to thank Pantsless Pizza for being our other sponsor on this. And keep in mind, if you don't know who they are or what they do, that is also coming up in a huge reveal, no pun intended on that one. Third Empire. Third Empire banner has got a whole mess of books that are coming out in crowdfunding that is over the next year. And they've been putting a lot of focus on some of the main ones that are coming out very recently. I will say right now, Mojo Rising is their first one that'll be coming up, I believe, the beginning of next month. So keep in mind that will be coming up a lot more in conversation as we go along. Now, my fourth sponsor actually leads into my guest for today. My fourth sponsor is Sub-Zero Mission. Now, as everyone may or may not recall, and I think you probably do because it's one of my highest viewed videos on here so far as an interview, Adam Fields and I had an interview, and we spoke about his works and things that were going on. And then we spent the last half of his interview talking about this particular project, Sub-Zero Mission. Whenever I first met Adam at the online con, it's been now almost a month and a half or so ago, 2 months. He took the time. I mean, he had 25 minutes up there to talk about his stuff, and he took the time to actually focus a lot on this particular mission. So I knew that I needed to go ahead and get involved however I could. Just in a nutshell, just go ahead and give you a little idea here. They actually go out, they send people out to go ahead and help the homeless that are out there, to try to help as many as they possibly can. And we're going to get into more detail on what's going on with this, but my whole point is I talk a lot on my show about how you're helping others and what you're doing to go ahead and do something to help others. Well, these people are actually going way above and beyond that step. So without further ado, I want to go ahead and bring my guest on here. This is Al Raddatz.
Hey, Phil, how are you?
Hey, Al, thank you very, very much for being on the show. I greatly appreciate this.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, absolutely. It was a have to that I needed to get you on here to go ahead and talk about this cause and everything. So I've got some questions we're going to ask. This is being recorded for everyone to watch later on. We do have a lot of information to give on here, but there is so much more information that you can get from this. And I am going to go ahead and put, since I have it right here, that is actually your website. So I have that up and ready to go. So just to go ahead and get started into this, I want to go ahead and ask, who are you and what do you do?
My name is Al Raddatz. My team calls me Sarge. And what we do is we collect coats, hats, boots, gloves, and sleeping bags. And we go out into the night. We find people in the camps where they live. A lot of people that don't make it into shelters, or there's not enough room in shelters and whatnot. They camp out under bridges and down by the river and out in the woods and sometimes right on the sidewalks in front of you. We go out and we try to make sure that they have, at a bare minimum, for the Cleveland weather where we live, we try to make sure that they have at least those main 5 items: coats, hats, boots, gloves, and sleeping bags. And to clarify, too, because we get a lot of questions around it, because we are a veteran-centric org. We help everybody that we find. Every single person we find is going to be left with those warming items. But an additional piece to our cause, or what we call our primary target, is to find those veterans. One in 5 of the people that are out there and homeless are veterans. So we try to find them. We gather their information. We try to close the gap between them and the Veterans Administration. It's not easy for somebody who's in the VA and a big bureaucracy like that to get out every day and try to find these people. It's not easy if you are waking up someplace cold and hungry to make it into the VA every day. And so what we do is we try to get their information. map out where they are, and then bring them together with the Veterans Administration or other veteran-centric entities.
Absolutely, and it's an amazing cause that you have, and that's what I was going to touch on while you were saying that. And I apologize for interrupting, because it is not strictly veterans. It's not like you go out and say, well, you're not a veteran, so we're not going to help you. You actually help as many as are willing to be helped with this.
Yeah, we're trying to help as many people as we can. And the bonus of that is that we're able to find veterans where they are. Again, a high piece. There's roughly 165,000 homeless people in America, and roughly 48 or 49,000, depending on which data you're looking at, veterans among them.
Absolutely. Now, how long has this been running?
So we started back in 2008 with a single delivery under a bridge in our hometown, which is in Painesville, Ohio. We had heard that there was a veteran living under there. We decided to get up out of the VFW where we are, post 7939 in Leroy, Ohio. Gather our own stuff that we had up in our garage and go out there and found him. And we actually found 2 veterans down there that night. People in the VFW found out that we had done that and started to bring us items to take to people. So back then we would take a little bit of everything. The next year we did a bunch of collections and made some deliveries to some of the local shelters and whatnot. And then we started to deliver to one particular shelter, and we found out we were putting stuff right on top of stuff we had delivered the last time we were there 4 or 5 weeks before, and we decided that we were not in the right method of delivering to these people. That a lot of the stuff was hanging in a shelter where the people were never going to see it, and that's when we got into the model that we would start going out and find them. So we are in year 11 and going into year 12 of doing this.
Now, you mentioned something about the model of how you're doing this and all, because I wanted to go ahead and bring that up as well. That, of course, I've gone to the website, and you and I have talked a couple of times about the program and very detailed about things on there. The fact that you actually take what kind of truck is it? I mean, it's like almost like an ice cream truck or a food truck type thing.
So when it first started out, we were delivering out of our own SUVs, and what we found was there literally is something that called a bum rush, and a lot of times when you're handing out items and you're desperate for items, you're going to start reaching over people and trying to get those items that are behind them. And so I'm a big guy. My partner Del Buffalo is a big guy. But we were getting pretty easily overrun. And so what we did was we put out a call that we were looking for an ice cream truck, because we figured one of us could drive and one of us could deliver out the side of it, and it would be, great. But what ended up happening was the word got out that we were looking for this vehicle, and somebody local to us here had season tickets for the Browns and had bought a older school bus, and they were going to revamp that thing and turn it into a tailgate wagon. And so if there's any Browns fans out there, please don't be offended by this. But what we found out was that the Browns stinking so bad turned out to be a blessing because he ended up, deciding that he wasn't going to do that and sold his season tickets and ended up donating that bus to us, which we were able to convert into the mission as we see it today. So what we do is we load up a driver plus 2 teams of 4. And we're able to, get out to just pretty much any place out in the city in that bus. We're able to, if we don't know exactly where a camp is and whatnot, we're able to spread out and using our radios and whatnot, contact back to the bus. We now have 2 buses and a pickup truck that we use to run the whole mission.
And it's amazing because whenever you're watching the video, of course, it shows on your main page. As soon as you go to the website, it automatically shows the video of what you're doing and how it's happening from this particular bus. And you mentioned about the rush that's on there, but I'm seeing absolute just honor, respect. I mean, they're just in that core moment because they can't believe. And the fact is, I'm watching the video and you see the look on their eyes. They're like, wait a minute, I'm getting more? Because you'll hand them a pair of boots and they think, okay, I'm good with boots. And then it's all of a sudden, it's like, no, come on back, we got more. And it's just the look on their face. It's just like, you actually remembered me. And that's what I want to bring up about the next thing on here. is the fact that you're actually helping somebody through something like this is one thing, giving them something like that. But the whole premise of all this is to give that hope back that you actually can live through this and then possibly even make yourself stronger inside so that you can get back outside and start getting back into the world.
Yeah, it's hard to describe some of the stories that you hear, to your point about, how grateful people are. I don't think that I've ever met anybody out on the street or in the camps or under a bridge that wasn't grateful that we were there. There's always going to be, heart-touching moments. I can remember, finding one woman in Akron and her saying, I'm just happy somebody was actually looking for us. And that sticks with you. Obviously, if you're sleeping out on a steam grate or you're under a bridge and it's a cold Cleveland night or, any of these areas where we serve, you're going to be grateful that somebody shows up with a pair of dry boots and whatnot. We collect the sleeping bags, because they're a little bit more portable. People that are homeless, you give them a blanket might last them a night or two. They can't really carry it anywhere. It gets wet. They end up leaving, and the police will come along sometimes and run them out of there, for, public nuisance or, littering or, loitering or any number of things. So we try to give them things that are a little bit more portable. If we have, bags and stuff for them to carry, we hand those out as well. To make things a little bit more portable. We want it to be a little bit easier for the person to be able to get up in the morning and handle that second piece of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is go out and get some food in their belly and find some place warm to shelter for that day.
Absolutely. And it's an amazing cause. Now, a lot of people are probably going to be watching this and they're going to be thinking, wait a minute, isn't this a comic-centric, show and everything? So how did you even come about doing this? Now, like I said, if you haven't seen the Adam Fields video, you can definitely go back and watch that. I greatly appreciate doing that, and it is worth it because of the fact that he brought this to my attention. Now, that being said, I actually have the comic that was done, which is called The Blue Coat Missionary. There's actually some more information I want to give about that here in a moment as well. But if you can kind of go ahead and go into explaining how you and Adam actually worked on getting this done and the purpose of doing so.
Sure. So again, it's very gratifying, to go out and, deliver to folks. And so one of the things that I established early on was that I would get a lot of short-time volunteers. Once or twice they would go out with me. And then, I would have to, muster up, folks to go with me. You always want to go farther. You always want to do more. And so I was calling for more and more missions. And it's not easy. People are working. People have lives and everything else. And so what I told people was that I don't give homeless tours. I'm looking for people who are in it for the long haul. And so we have a coat that we earn. After you've been out with us on 10 missions, you earn a blue coat. We're called the Sub-Zero Mission, so you become a Blue Coat Missionary, which is the name of my delivery team. We found that when we would do some of our fundraising, we do a lot of efforts through the summers. We trade T-shirts for donations, and we go to a lot of festivals and everything else. That's how we fundraise for this thing. And we're able to take that a long way because nobody on my board or myself or anybody makes any money at all. Nobody gets a salary here, and so we're able to stretch that money that we make up pretty far away. But what we found was when we went to a lot of these festivals, as we were walking out, we would find our flyers and our stickers and things that we were handing out as paper products laying in the garbage. And so we were brainstorming at a board meeting one day. We were talking about what we could do to save some of that. And it just so happened that it was around the time that my wife and I were doing some purging at our house. We had a lot of collections of boxes and everything else. I was just starting to break into some old boxes that I had packed up before I went into the service way back in 1990, not to age myself here. And inside those boxes were old books and everything else that I read. And inside those books were old comic books and graphic novels and everything else that guys like us, anybody watching this are just like that. We don't like to fold them. We don't like to bend them. And we sure as heck don't throw them away. And so we threw around that idea at the board meeting, and we were like, what is something that, nobody's going to throw away? We don't, we just don't want to keep throwing this money away. And so we came up with the graphic novel and comic book idea. And so I reached out to see if anybody did that, kind of style art. I knew some guys from school that did. And a girl that I worked with has a cousin who is Adam Fields. And so Adam and I talked, and you had him on your show. So anybody that we clicked right away. And the fun thing about the comic and the graphic novel concept is nothing that I threw at Adam surprised him at all. Nothing sounded as crazy as it did when I threw it around with the guys in the room and everything. And he was able to take that concept. Of course, we brought him up here and we showed him around and everything else. Showed him what we do, and some of our old artwork at the end of the year. Everyone gets a T-shirt, with the nights that we went out, and I do a special graphic for it. And so we had the concept of the Blue Coat Missionary kind of, laid out already. He was able to take that to the next level. And we talked to him a little bit about PTSD, and some of the stuff we see with the veterans that we have. And, the question's always going to be, why are these guys out there, or why aren't they doing more? So we thought we could build that into the story itself. And so, we threw around a bunch of ideas, and, we came up, with this novel one of the Blue Coat Missionary.
Yeah, and I've actually got I'm putting the artwork up right now. We're kind of looking through that. So what I want to bring up is, whenever I first talked to Adam, of course, because that's again how all this got brought up, and whenever he brought it up on the online con that we were doing, and I was the co-host on there, whenever I was talking to him, my jaw was on the ground, because I was like, wait a minute, we're actually doing a comic that actually has a lot of depth into it and a lot of meaning that actually needs to get out to more people. And whenever you actually go through this, because he sent me the PDF afterwards, and I was able to go ahead and read it, and that does no justice to just talking about it. So the images that I'm showing you on here just kind of gives the backstory, that there was a soldier who had a traumatic experience, and I'm not going to give away everything, of course, but had a traumatic experience, very traumatic at that. And it seems like, because the main villain in here is actually Death, and Death wants to go ahead and collect everyone that's on there, but he wants you to give up so that he can collect you.
He wants you to be home. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and this is our hero, is the Blue Coat Missionary. And again, not giving away anything on there, but whenever times are that tough and you've given up, that's whenever he would step in.
Man has turned his back on man. That's where the Blue Coat Missionary will arrive.
Exactly. So it's amazing to see this. Like I said, this doesn't give it justice for what the actual book is and for what it does and everything. But just to show you, this is the artwork. So just so you know what you're getting into with this. Now, above and beyond this, let me go ahead and get back into here, because I want to show you something from my book that I wanted to show on my end, because I have a favorite part in here as well, which just shows just how graphic things get for people that are out there, especially with PTSD or something, because that's not your only villain that's in there.
No, he's got a lot of guys that go out and do the work for him. It's a long drive from being a soldier and dealing with the things that they have when they're on their bus to boot camp and everything else. You're one person. You're going to come out of boot camp a different person. You're going to see some things along the way that are going to change you into another person, and all of those things are going to leave scars and demons. And so, obviously, Death is the ultimate villain in this, but he's got a lot of cronies and demons that work for him. And in this one, the demon is called Petey, and Petey, has a lot to do with PTSD. Is how we named him. And that's just one of a million things that we see with not just the veterans that are out there, but all of the guys that are out there. There's different levels of mental illness and psychosis. There's, all kinds of stigma from, either being out on the street. There's a whole, subculture and all kinds of different kinds of PTSD and drug addictions and everything that are buried within homelessness. I mean, you think of how many people you have in your life. How many people would have to turn their back on you for you to be found under a bridge by me one night? And think about how many things have to go wrong in your life to finally have all of those people not be there for you.
Absolutely. And that's the whole point, is whenever you lose everything, the only thing that you have to live off of is hope. So that's kind of what this entire story is going off of, is don't give up on everything, because there's always someone that's going to be looking out for you. And that's what I love about this mission is you don't give up hope on this. I mean, you go out there and you look for them on a constant basis, and that is amazing.
We hope that it brings people a little bit of hope. I do a number of speaking engagements a year, and a lot of them, have to do with, some of the local school systems that are around us. And so we'll go out and we'll talk to them. And there's one in particular that's near us where they will do a night where they feign homelessness and they sleep out. Now they're near their school and everything else. And that's what I talk to them about. I say, well, you're feeling a piece of homelessness. I mean, granted, you're doing it in a little bit of a warmer month and everything else. But the true piece of homelessness that you're not going to be able to understand here is the hopelessness that comes with homelessness, because you guys are going to go to bed tonight. I'm sure that you all have snacks inside the tents that you have. And those are all good things, because if you're homeless, you might not have a tent, you might not have a snack, and you certainly aren't going to have the hope of going home in the morning or 2 days or however long you're doing it. So there's a big difference between pretending you're homeless and being homeless, and I'm sure that you understand that, but you have to understand the hopelessness of it, because when they wake up the next day, their first question is, how do I fill my belly? Again, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you have to think about that, and where am I going to find shelter before you think about anything else that you're going to do that day. So that hopelessness, if you can just give a little bit of hope, it leaves you feeling good. But I can tell you, my team, and we talk about it a lot, we drive, you can't take everybody with you. There's not always a place to take people to, and there's a million different things that cause somebody to be under that bridge, and sometimes you got to leave somebody there that you really didn't want to. And you're talking about a group of mostly veterans and first responders who have lived with few go, we go, and nobody left behind. And, it's hard. And so, the least we can do is map out where they are, and in the daylight hours, try to get those people that work in the daylight back together with them. And we even configure our buses into like a conference room setting and pick up the guys from the local VA and drive out to where we found the homeless person, and we'll sit right out there and fill out their paperwork with them and everything. To be able to capture a piece of that the way Adam did, and the artwork that he did, I mean, I'm forever grateful to him that he was able to take what was in my head and put it out onto, into a book the way he did. I mean, the man is amazing. I definitely am glad that we found him for our mission.
Oh, absolutely. And then that kind of segues into what I was going to talk about next is we've talked a lot about this, and for everyone who has stayed this long to watch this, thank you very much. And if you will, go ahead and spread this word to everyone else who maybe didn't stay long enough on this to find out. But we're not on here doing a telethon. We're not asking, to raise money on this right now or anything. In fact, I want to ask you, because I want to get the word directly from the man right here, how much are you selling these books for?
$5.
Did you hear that? $5. It's not like we're doing this where this is one of those things where this is a $30 book, a $50 book or whatever that you're going to go ahead and get, that you're going to pack away or whatever, that's really not going to do too much. My personal thing on this is get as many as you can, hand them out as many as you can, give them to your LCSs, get your LCSs involved to purchase them. Do whatever you can to get the word out there, because the more hands these get into, the fewer people he's going to have to go find nightly.
That's exactly right. Just to give you an idea of where we go, if you're watching this and if you're in the areas between Ashtabula and Lorain along the North Coast in Ohio, we cover that area in what we call our normal footprint. We also go 3 times a year to Erie, Pennsylvania. We go for 1 full weekend to Buffalo. We go for 1 full weekend to Columbus. We go on a weekend to Dayton. We do a trip up into Michigan where we hit Lansing on Friday evening. We drive to Detroit on Saturday morning. We hit Detroit all Saturday and Saturday evening. And we catch Toledo on our way back in towards Cleveland where we live. And this year we got into Chicago. So just to give you an idea of the ground we cover. So when it was all said and done, we had been to 21 cities in 5 states this year, and we handed out 15,000 items.
Now, let me go ahead and go back one more time, just in case nobody heard that. 15,000 items handed out. You did not make a dime off of these.
We sure did. What we do is, similar to other charities that you see, we trade items for donations. We're not selling anything, but for every one of these festivals we go to, we make a T-shirt for it, that's, within that theme. So if it's a rock and roll festival, it's a rock and roll Sub-Zero theme. Either it's our Bear Shivers or the Blue Coat Missionary or, something like that, playing a guitar. We make about $8 per item, and we buy wholesale coats for about $16 each, just to give you an idea. So every 2 items that we trade for donation, we're able to buy 1 coat. We also, from the period of October until the middle of December, we do stuff to buses. So we will roll one of our buses up in front of your business or your church on any Saturday or Sunday, and we'll sit out there all day and collect gently used items of the same sort. We call for what we call our Stay Alive 5, coats, boots, hats, gloves, and sleeping bags. Sometimes people will drive other items up, and we'll take a look at it. And, if it's a full snowsuit or something that's obvious that the person will be able to use, we'll take that as well. But we try to stick to those 5 items as tightly as we can. Otherwise, people will clean their garages out on us. I mean, we empty our donation bin, and I'll have lamps. One time I had a football helmet and shoulder pads, so I don't know if they think it's homeless Thunderdome out there. What's going on? But you get some fun. Nobody wants to throw anything away if somebody else can use it, and so their heart is in the right place. But again, we're looking to keep people alive and living to the next day. So that's our role in all of this.
Absolutely. And again, I'm telling you, I have seen the pictures. Go to the website, look on there, just do your own. I mean, do your own assessment on this. Look at it. I mean, if you're not completely touched by this and you can't figure out a way to support this, that's my next thing on here is how can you support this cause? Now, I've said many times on my show that I can't financially support anything and everything that I possibly want to just because I don't have that much money. I'm not Scrooge McDuck. It just doesn't happen. But it costs you absolutely nothing to use the finger, the correct one, to go ahead and hit that share button so that you can go ahead and share this out to everybody and get everybody involved. $5 for a comic is actually not bad at all. So if you don't have the money, who's to say that someone down the road may actually say, look, how much is a case of these things? How much is 2 cases, 3 cases? The LCS down here actually wants to carry this now. What can we do? It started with the push of a button. Yep. So that's all you have to do to share this.
There are millions of ways to help. I get a lot of people that say they want to help us out. And the first thing I'll say is, well, what do you like to do? Or, what do you want to do? And they'll say, I want to be on the bus. I say, well, there's training and everything involved in that. I kind of have a team that, already works cohesively together. What else do you like to do? And, I'll tell them there's a million different ways to help. Adam helped us by drawing the book. You're helping us today, doing what I'm always hoping that I can do is get somebody within their comfort zone of time and talent. And if I can do that, we're going to have success together. So I think I sent over to you before the show a couple links. I have friends that are musicians. And so every year we're trying to get some message out. We create some kind of parody, and they help us make those. We get another group of friends that come over and help us make the video. I've got friends that help us do the drawings. I've got friends that take the T-shirts and sell them around the clubs that they go to. There's a million different ways to help. And a lot of times just us chatting together, will help us find a way that you can help even though you're far away. There's a lot of different ways. And of course, there's always financial donation. Always research any charity that you're sending any money to. And I strongly encourage you, and in fact, I invite you to please check out our page too, because we go to great lengths to make sure that we meet, certain conditions for the Better Business Bureau 5-star. So always check out the charities that you're going to. But I think you'll be very pleased to see that with ours that, we are one of those few charities where the CEO, myself, and none of our board members or anybody is collecting any kind of salary. And so we're able to stretch that dollar that you donate to us a lot farther than a lot of charities do.
Absolutely. And see, it's just that easy to go ahead and support this cause here. So just please do. I mean, if anything has ever been out there that you need to go ahead and hit that share button and move things around, I'm asking you right now, please. I mean, this is actually saving lives on this. I mean, buying comics is one thing because it's a collector's point on there. I mean, I'm one of them. I collect comics as well, but to save lives, You definitely need to get on that. So do what you can, and if all you can do is share it out, hey, you're saving lives by just sharing it out.
I appreciate it.
Now, I got to ask, what lies in the future for Sub-Zero?
So we have a few projects that we've been kind of socking money away for. I mean, obviously this year with everything that's going on this year, donations we expect are going to be a little bit lower, and so we're probably going to have to tap into some of those project monies to pay for next season. We plan to make it to Chicago again. We liked making it in there. We realized when we were into Chicago that we barely scraped the surface on how many homeless there are there. We made it into probably 6 camps, and we probably saw 6 more on our way driving out of there. And so we plan to do a better job in Chicago. So I'll probably take both buses and 2 full crews. So we know that we'll do that. We know eventually we need to get into our own building. The building that we're in, we rent for about $20,000 a year. I'm able to rent off space for it and defray that cost to about $11,000 a year, but it's still pretty expensive over time. I need to get my buses inside, because they're rusting. And so, we plan to build, and we have been stocking away money for something. We want to build something very similar to like a firehouse. So we get the buses inside, have a little area where we can, hang our inventory, a lot of storage space. A lot of nights when we roll in, it's snowing, and so maybe the guys don't want to drive home. They might want to, bunk up here. So we do have to get our own building at some point. And then the one that's nearest and dearest to my heart is what we call the empowerment plan. So in our video, if you go to our website, you'll see us handing out a code. But that code is actually a special code. It's a code that turns into a sleeping bag. And it's made by a group called the Empowerment Plan out of Detroit, Michigan. And what they do is they have coats that are made by the homeless for the homeless, which is great in its own right. But what's even better is that project that they're in a program, whereas those homeless people that they bring in to make the coats are able to enter into a contract for detoxification as part of one of the conditions to work there, which is only going to help them. They receive payment, and then they also are able to defer some of that cash to save up for first and last month's rent in certain places around Detroit and whatnot. And then after they graduate kind of from that first phase of the program, the donors that donate into, say, Carhartt and GM and Ford and some of the other larger companies that are up in there will hire some of these folks out of there under similar conditions. And so you end up having a person who was maybe on the street just 2 years prior, now has a place to live, is detoxified and whatnot. And so I've been enamored with that program since we met Veronica Scott, who runs the program. And so we've been wanting to do something similar. And we even tried it one time. We met a homeless veteran who was passing through our area with his service dog. And we brought him in, and we had some success with it, but we didn't have full success. It tapered off at the end. There were a lot of things that we didn't know or understand. And sometimes when you try to find a tactful way to say it, sometimes when you put a little bit of jingle in somebody's pocket and you clear some of those first levels of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you reawaken those demons that they have. And sometimes you cause as much harm as you do good. And so we didn't have the kind of success. We weren't able to put a big bow on it. And so I have that dream that I'm going to start with one person, and we're going to make them whole again. And I'm going to be able to show and demonstrate that it works to some of the employers in my area here. And I'm going to be able to walk in. I'm going to say, hey, I've got a guy. He's probably not going to be your A player day 1. He may not be your A player day 60. And he may not ever become your A player. But I've got a program that is trying to get this person off the street. And if you care enough to help, we'd like to help them too. And so our hope is that we can, fund a program that helps this person over time have confidence in themselves again, be detoxified if that happens again, be back in touch with maybe the VA or other things that to help them with mental soundness, and we hope to make them whole over. It looks to be about a 3-year period that it takes to get somebody from not doing anything to crawling to walking to running and being reinserted and useful in society again. So my dream is ultimately to find these guys and get them off the street. Is the short version of that.
Absolutely. And I mean, that ultimately that's what's important because again, we're talking about saving lives on this. So, and in saving a life, we're not talking about going and resuscitating per se. We're talking about just giving that hope to go ahead and pick yourself up and start over if you need to, or at least get back to where you were. Sometimes it's as simple as you just don't feel that you're in place enough. Therefore, you disassociate yourself from people to get away from everything, and then you just fall into your own hole. Now, I am not ex-military. I don't have PTSD. I have several friends who do, past and present. I have one in particular that he is actually getting one of these books. I am giving him one from me uh, because he was my ex-boss at my job that I just had, and I was able to partake in whenever he had moments, and he would have to leave work in a hurry, and I just didn't know what was going on, and he would come back and tell me it was nothing against you, but just I had an episode. And so I had to do some research on there because I was trying to figure out how I'm triggering these things. It's not me. It's just something that he deals with on a daily basis.
It's not you. It's the condition. I mean, we are coming off of 2 decades of war. We still have people in Iraq. We still have people in Afghanistan. And 9/11, 1 and 2 were both real long ago. And so it's been a long time. We have a lot of damaged men and women who have a high sense of pride who maybe might not want to ask for help. There's a reason we're losing 22 of them a day. And one of them is that they don't want to ask. They think that help should go to somebody else, or that I can handle this. I can be out in the woods. I took cold weather training. I can live in the woods. Somebody else can have that. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that pride. There's mental illness issues that are left with people who don't want you in their house. I mean, it's a horrible situation. And when you talk about the cracks that people fall through, my team looks exactly at one of those cracks. One of those cracks is that there's a huge bureaucracy that's designed to help these people, and the people are either geographically separated from it or mentally separated from it, and they've disengaged, and it's hard to bring them back again to a point of trust. It can be a long, frustrating trip through the Veterans Administration. It can be, very hard, and it sometimes brings guys back to, really bad memories of hurry up and wait, waking up at, 0 dark 30 to line up at the armory at, 0 darker 30 to sit there and wait, for a cattle, car to drive you to, someplace out in the dark. There's a lot of hurry up and wait. There's a lot of, hunkering down, waiting for your food to get there, walking patrols and all of these things. And it brings up a lot of bad memories for these guys, and they don't want to engage into it. So they don't.
Absolutely. And again, I thank you for, doing this and for taking out your time and just putting everything into this, because I know it's got to be so emotional doing this every single time. But then again, you get the backlash of it too. So you get the emotional high and low all mixed in. I got to say, I've got to say this out loud. You're a better person than I am, because in a situation like this, I don't know how I would keep a straight face doing all this.
It's hard, and I try to explain it to people sometimes. It's you develop over time a little bit of soul callous, because it was hard for you year one to drive away and leave those guys, and you have to force yourself to do it, or you can get pulled down too. There's it's real easy to walk out there and give every penny that's in your pocket, every piece of food you have with you, and everything else, and walk away with nothing. And so you have to have, it's almost a discipline. But you don't want to have too much of that soul callous, because you still want to have that connection with the people when you go out there. And so we have found that there's a right number with my team, and we think that's around 10 missions a year. That keeps everybody involved. We also believe that we have to bring in 2 or 3 new bodies every year and rotate a couple guys out every year. We try to be cognizant of that. But for the most part, the hardest part of what I do is driving away and leaving that guy that served his country, or that woman who served their country, behind. It's a hard thing to do, and my hope is that someday we don't have to. That we're always able to engage the VA. We've made a lot of friends in a lot of cities we go to. We've gotten very adept at documenting where we find the people, and we have a veteran coordinator named Tim Hickey, who is about as persistent as a person can be at tracking down who's responsible for getting that person off the street and staying on them. So
that is amazing. I mean, this entire campaign and everything that you're doing, the entire everything that you're doing is amazing with this, and I want to see this kept up, and I definitely want to see it grow, and I'll do what I can on my end to help you out on that as best I can. Right now, this is the best I can do as far as just getting the word out there, but definitely, if it ever comes to where you come up closer to the Jersey area, definitely let me know, and hey, if I got to slap on a coat, I will do it. I'll help.
Absolutely. I appreciate you.
Well, Al, it has been just an honor having you on here today. And before I forget, thank you for your service. And if you will, tell us where we can find you audibly on here, and I will have all of these links attached whenever you go ahead and look at this as well.
Awesome. So subzeromission.org, .org. I always say that everybody's looking for .com. But subzeromission.org is the best place to find us. If you hit the contact button, all of those emails and everything go to me directly. So I manage most of that. If you're in the area, you can call us, 440-867-2626. I sent you a link for our little parody song that goes with that. Sarge at subzeromission.org if you want to talk to me personally or have an idea that might be able to help, or you have any trouble with the website or anything. Those are all good ways to get in touch with us.
Absolutely. Again, thank you very much. And I look forward to having you back on here so we can go ahead and keep the information rolling. We'll have to set up another time we get you back on here. Just go ahead and keep the fresh information out there.
I hope so, because Adam and I are going to be working on a children's story here that links into our graphic novel and then novel number 2. So it might be a good opportunity for the three of us to be on together.
Absolutely. I will make that happen.
It's awesome. I appreciate you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. So we had Al Raddatz up here from Sub-Zero Mission. You know, I always have closing statements. This time it kind of says itself. I mean, I've said before, do what you can to help. Whenever you go above and beyond and you take that to the next level, that's putting yourself out there in a way that some people just can't, won't, don't think of. But now you're asked, all you do is share. That's it. That's all we're saying is share. If you can financially help, do so, but share this thing out. You're saving lives on this one. Demon Phil, Comics More, New Jersey. Keep it indie, y'all. Stay safe. Share this.